Grand Rising, everyone, and welcome to Black British Parents YouTube channel and Facebook Live. I'm Debbie.
And I'm Dwayne.
And we decided to do, at the end of this year, 2020, since it's been so challenging, to have like a series of talks using and I guess focusing on the 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And today's day 4. We've had day 1, day 2, day 3, which have been phenomenal so far. We've had amazing guests come and speak with us and share their insights and ideas and perspectives and experience too. So today's day 4, and it's Ujamaa, and today's principle focuses on group economics. So which is super important, especially right now with all the things that's been happening. I think it's really
it's an important topic, and it's something that we kind of touch on as a community, but it feels like we have a little bit of traction and then our focus goes elsewhere. So let's have a kind of conversation about how we can continue the momentum that we've been kind of gaining over the last couple months of 2020. And without further ado, we're going to invite Mr. Paul Mohammed from Money Mob to join us on this conversation.
Grand Rising, Paul.
Grand Rising. I pray you both are well.
We are very well, and we're super excited to have a conversation with you about group economics.
Definitely.
Fantastic. I want to first say, I really want to, praise both of you, Dwayne and Deborah. What you've done in regards to this is absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. And I salute you both.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Humbly. Can you introduce yourself a little bit? I know we have a following that know who you are, but for those of us who don't know your work, can you please just give us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. All right. Well, my name is Paul Mohammed, and I am the founder of a crowd purchase crowdfunding movement called the Money Mob. Money Mob uses group economics to support Black business. The aim is to target businesses per se, and usually by referrals. And if they go through and pass the criteria, then we use all the arsenal at our ability to mob that business. So the actual Money Mob is, as I said, in a day and time, usually like over the weekend. And as I said, we will descend on a business. It may be 10 people, it may be 100 people, it may be 1,000 people. Each person that actually money mobs that business has to spend no less than £10 per person. And in that way, we drive cash directly to the business. But not only that, we are also using our social media, whether it's radio, TV, also to make people aware of that particular business, because it's very important to also do your marketing and your promotion when you're actually targeting. So that's basically what we do. We have a media arm that also does, we have podcasting and radio, and hopefully we're going to be going into TV and some documentaries in the future. And that's basically me in regards to the Money Mob and the Money Mob movement. We're here locally in London, but we also move nationally, and now we're also working internationally with partners in Europe, in Africa, and the Caribbean. So yes, this movement is now more and more worldwide.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's absolutely brilliant.
All right, then. We're just going to introduce our next guest, who is Moise. There might be a few internet connection issues there.
Okay, well, we'll stick with Paul for a moment until we get him back. Okay, so Paul, how long has Money Mob been running for?
All right, Money Mob as a movement has been going since 2016. the reason for it was quite simple. I was going through my social media one day, and I saw a post, and the post had this young lady who had a hair shop in Lewisham, and what had happened is that she had someone come into her shop, and she was asking for a product that she didn't actually have. So the lady said, "Look, go on the high street. You should be able to actually find the."
Okay, hold on a minute, Paul. Sorry, we're just getting a bit of feedback at the moment. Apparently, we can't be seen.
Oh right, okay.
Oh, we can be seen. I don't know. Maybe it's something else. Sorry, so I didn't mean to stop you mid-flow.
No problem. No problem. It's a well-worn story.
No, sorry, please continue.
Yeah, continue.
Okay. All right. So yes, so then what happened is that the lady came back to the shop a few weeks later, and she said yes, she got the product, it was fine. But then when she was speaking to the proprietor of the shop, they said to her this: "See, anything that lady can give you, we will give it to you 10% less." And in truth, we're trying to, we're looking to move off the high street. And I must admit that that incensed me, because this is a Black woman trying to provide product for her community. And there's someone else from another community now decided, well, look, okay, we are going to collectively now look to move you off the high street. So as I said, it really incensed me, and I just think, oh my God, how are we going to do so? What can we do in regards to this? What can I do? And I spoke to a couple of people. I said, you know what, this is what I'm thinking of. I saw something online in America, and I said, you know what, I'm going to use it and use the concept and adapt it for the UK. And we're going to we're going to actually money mob a business. We targeted a grocery shop in Catford, I think it's Catford Centre, and it just kind of really took off from there. When we actually did the money mob, it was crowds of people. We had a camera crew came down, podcasters and influencers per se, and it was really, really fantastic.
Business.
Really, really, really fantastic. And then it just really kind of took on from there. Really, really kind of took on them there. From there, we did it once a month in various locations, where it was shops, groceries, supermarkets, restaurants, and about a year later, we actually launched the Money Mob, and we took the concept, and we were working with some of our people. In at that time we went to Marseille in France to because I knew from early on that we needed to now stretch out internationally and start to link up with our family abroad, because that's the thing. I think a lot of the time we think of ourselves always as a minority, not as a global majority, and that is what we are. We're getting close to between 1.5 and almost 2 billion people, and we need to kind of link up very, very, very much so in regards to what we do. So as I said, we did that, and things are just kind of moved and taken from there, really.
I mean, I think I like to think of yourselves and particularly the Money Mob as in terms of branding and your business as kind of like the foundations to what we have today as the Black Pound Day, because you guys have been doing it for so long before, and obviously we had like our community market stores and those things that were happening. So group economics was kind of already in what is, I guess, can be seen as a conscious community, but it's just essentially a Black community. Why do you think? I find that some people find it a struggle or challenging to conceptualize the idea of spending with Black, it seems to be a problem. Some people seem to like back up on it. Do you know why that might be? Do you have any idea why that might be?
I think I think a lot of it is obviously for for market forces per se. I think that the idea of group economics as a people hasn't really been a concept. When we first came over here in the 50s, we were here to really kind of work services. There were people who provided for our community, and it was Black people serving, and providing goods and services. Definitely. I remember growing up and going up the top of my road to the grocery shop, and it was it was a Black couple who actually we got our most of our fruits and veg from. Next door to her there was a not hairdresser, there was a clothing shop, Black owned, and then there was another convenience store next to that also was were providing goods as well. So I know it's something that we did actually. I mean, there was a semblance of it, but I think that what's happened is that I think that other people, we certainly the second generation, we've become almost Afro-European, where we feel that we're we may have kind of made it. We were in the mainstream and don't understand that and I have to say, business is war. When you're dealing with business, it it means that you are now you're literally, it's war strategy in how we now move ourselves from one level of one state to the other. And that's the thing that I think as a community we are going to have to appreciate it and more now. I don't think we did, but I think more and more now people are going to have to appreciate that is the reality. And unless you understand that you have to now treat it as something really concerted, then we don't really have a future. I think we got very, very comfortable having others serve, and because especially in the 70s, when there was a second wave of quote unquote immigrants come over, many of those quote unquote immigrants, they were business people. They came over and they had shops in in Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania, in South Africa, and so they were able to come and straight away come in and do business and carry on really from whence they came from, and so now that is as we've now got at that stage, we're now at that stage where now there is a new wave. There is a new kind of thinking. There is a new generation that are now talking about entrepreneurships. But again, it's for our community, it's new.
Yeah, thank you.
That's amazing. Yeah. We're just going to introduce our next guest, who is Moise.
Hello. How you doing? You right?
Yeah, fine, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Can't complain.
Yeah. So could you just introduce yourself to those of us in our community that might not be familiar with you, and what you do?
Okay. So hello, people. My name is Moise Yusuf. I'm a property investor based in London, and basically that's what I do. So I buy properties, I do flips, I do HMOs, I do rent to rent, and I also mentor people getting into property as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Could you kind of break down how you kind of got started, and if you worked with if it was by yourself, or did you work with a collective of people to kind of get your first investment property?
Yeah. So it's a bit of a long story, but I'm going to try and sort of shorten it. So my first property I purchased in Lewisham quite a while back. At that point, I didn't have any sort of like property education. I didn't have any sort of like group or someone who I could connect to in terms of to understanding what I was doing. All I know is that I knew purchasing, investing into property was a good thing. Do you understand? So that's as far as I knew. You know, and obviously I picked up a few other properties further down the line as well. But at the same time, what I've done is I've connected with a lot of other people. I've networked with people in my community. You know, a lot of friends who are doing the same sort of thing. And then by doing that, I've noticed that my education as well as my portfolio has got a lot bigger as well. And I've done a lot of JVs. So JVs, we do joint ventures with other people as well. And the benefit of joint ventures is that you can get to your goal a lot quicker. So sometimes it's not always about doing things by yourself. It's about, you know, I've got this amount of money, you've got this amount of money. All right, let's come together. Let's buy this. Let's chop it up. Let's do this, and then let's share the profit. And then you can get a lot further that way as well. So that's what I've sort of learned throughout this whole process. And I guess in terms of this subject, group economics, it makes sense. So it's about, because I know there's a, you know, with property, is a big thing where a lot of people want to get into the property ladder. There's a, you know, there's a big thing about owning or investing in property, and certain people may not have the capital to jump into it, because obviously it's one of those things. It's one of those big investments in your life. You understand? And you want to get it right, because if you get it wrong, it can be really wrong. So yeah, so you know, join JVing with somebody else who knows exactly what they're doing could be a good angle for you. Also, it can reduce that risk as well. I done that with a property in Manchester. So what initially when I'm doing my journey, so I'm originally from South. So originally I was doing my journey, I was sort of just looking at properties within my area, because that's all I knew. I knew about Southeast London, so that's all I wanted to purchase. So going a bit further, as in Manchester, you know, it was a bit of a risk for me in terms of it's not an area that I knew about. It's very far. You know, if anything was to happen, how do I sort of resolve it? But obviously, with a bit of education and understanding that you have to delegate some of that responsibility to other people to look after that property for you, and also JVing with somebody else, so you're reducing that risk. So if it goes wrong, at least the risk is not heavily on you. You can split it.
JV.
Yeah.
So, yeah, JV, joint venture. Yeah.
Just
So
for those I might not have heard it. So yeah.
yeah. So yeah, it's just there's a lot of benefit with joint ventures, especially when you're doing something really big as well. It could work for something small as well, you know, especially, you know, like a lot of the big buildings that you see sort of getting constructed around the UK. It's not just one person doing it by themselves, you know, there's a group of people doing it, and depending on how, you know, what they bring to the table, is getting, you know, sliced down in certain ways. So JVing is definitely a good way to sort of speed up your process in whatever you're trying to do, whether it's property, whether it's any sort of other business, or whatever it may be. And I think there's this stigma where we just want to sort of be the captain of our ship and just own everything, and not try to if you understand what I'm saying, open up and let other people win. Do you understand? So you can go a lot further with a team instead of just by yourself.
And you know what? That's a beautiful message, because quite often we have within our community or within our families or what have you, we can often find ourselves in a position where we personally want to do something, but we're unable to do it by ourselves because we don't, obviously, as you said, have the financial capital behind us to do that. So coming back down to the principle of group economics, like, have conversations with people close to you. And it's difficult because you're often kind of advised not to work or do business or mix money with family. But I don't see, if I'm going to make a mistake financially, I'd sooner make that mistake with someone that I'm close to or I trust, or we have that rapport or that
general understanding,
rather than it be with a stranger and something Pete Tongo happens, and you're kind of left to the wayside.
But the thing is, as well, though, practice. Sorry, I wanted to add to that, but other communities are able to practice group economics within their own families, etc. So, just really kind of ironic that we struggle with it a little bit more than others, you know?
Yeah, and what I would say as well is that I understand about the family as well. However, I feel like we need to be able to work with people that are not family as well. Do you understand? Because that's the only way it's gonna get bigger. So in terms of, I should be able to, you know, if we're on the same wavelength and we have a meeting and I can see that you can see my vision, I can see your vision, you're bringing something to the table, I bring something to the table, we draw up a contract, then we can do business. It's as simple as that. That's how it is in, you know, that's what everybody else is doing. You know, it doesn't have to be family. Do you understand? I should be able to do business with anyone. Do you understand? But at the same time, you got to make sure you have your contracts in place so everyone understands exactly what they bring to the table and no one's getting burnt. That's the main thing. Because I think the issue is that the trust level is very, very low. That's what it is. Do you understand? And we feel that everyone's going to try and shaft you when they get the chance. So, you know, it's about having contracts in place, and whether you can have contracts in place for family as well. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I feel.
All right, thanks for imparting that with us. We're going to introduce our next guest, who is Marcia Brooke.
How are you doing?
Hi, you guys. I'm fine. Hi, Paul. Hi, Mose. How's everybody doing today?
We're doing okay, thank you.
We're doing well.
Thank you for joining us this Rising.
It's been going good.
Sorry?
It might have been a bit of feedback.
Okay, I was saying Grand Rising. Thank you for joining us, Marcia. Please, can you tell us a little bit about yourself for others who may not be familiar?
Okay, I'm getting a lot of it's a bit slow as a connection. Don't know if you can move me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
As always.
Yes. So.
I didn't have.
No, don't go for it. Go for it.
Okay, my name is Marcia Brooke. I started off in IT, Microsoft and Cisco's, and moved into project management, numerous projects, IT projects and community projects over the years. I started a organization called is it coming up now? And yeah, we try and the charity, we try and have fun and creative things for children to do, age 2 to 18, and just because we found that a lot of needed sometimes was being removed from the school system, and we review it every couple of years, sure we're on track, because over the years we've had about 35, 40 odd different kind of workshops, from gardening to juicing to hackathons where you're making apps over the weekend or building a business in a box, entrepreneurial classes, and even just goes in line with the project management company, because normally we find companies who either need project management, it works in a nice circle. Yeah. And to say my project management company has a focus to try and make them the best that they want to be. Yeah.
In your opinion, how important is it for Black businesses to actually just exist? Because a lot of us kind of don't. We have ideas and we don't see that if we actually implement them, how important it could potentially be, or how big it could potentially be for ourselves and our community.
I understand the percentage dynamics that in a business, but with the right education and the right teams of people, a lot more people would be able to run businesses. And I do think it's very important, especially for our children's generation and their children's generation. With a lot of the businesses we're seeing, they may not be able to build in, and I think it's very important that we actually build businesses and teams and able to employ our children. Or yeah, because a lot of my connections, my oldest daughter, and been a part of teams of several of my so-called friends and colleagues' businesses, and family. Yeah, a lot of my family have business. More recently was there was an African group, and there was like, code switching, and what that means, like having to switch code when working in white world. And I was like, oh, I feel good. She's reached 19 and she still don't know how to, what that is. She's never experienced it. So.
Sorry, the sound's a little bit choppy, but I believe we're kind of getting what you're saying though.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it's getting a bit clearer. No, I think it's a bit choppy. I have very low
code switch
Wi-Fi in my home just because of my health. So
all right, then just a disclaimer, a lot of people have been experiencing difficulties with their Wi-Fi and their internet connections to their home of late over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So it's proven to be challenging to have these conversations, but we're going to press on anyway. But Marcia, would it be possible to just break down what code switching is?
Oh, okay. So when I say code switching, I was meaning going to work for a white-owned organization. Your dialect, tone of voice, hair, clothing, just part of your blackness, toning down your blackness. Yeah.
Do you know what? That is a very a very true, important thing to kind of take into account. We at a stage in our community where we can have our own businesses so that we can not only hand down generational wealth to our children, but also be able to support our community by providing jobs for our children. So they're not forced into a position where they're having to not be their authentic selves in the workplace. And if our children are in a position where they're going to work and they're not being their authentic selves and they're trying to fit into the mold of what European society is, what is the whole point of diversity? It's like an oxymoron.
So I wanted to ask, Paul, I mean, because you've been with your kind of you was calling it the shopping club, the buying club that you set up. Like, how can people be more proactive with implementing or supporting, for example, group economics within their community?
Well, I think it's about being fully engaged. You know, a lot of the time we spend a lot of time, you know, listening to the noise, you know, and instead of actually using our phone and our WhatsApp for what is meant to really be in regards to engaging. There are a lot of groups that are up and out there doing you know, doing certain things. So it's important for us to kind of log into those things. When you I mean, you know, you still have you know, groups like you know, The Voice, who promote black businesses. You have other groups that are doing that. But I think it's important. But I think it's important for you to really make sure. All right, first things first. You you know, word of mouth. Ask your friends. Ask your you know, your circle. You know, do you know of any black businesses who provide this? Do you know any black businesses that actually provide that? You know what I mean? And as I said, if you can't, as I said, check us out. You know, we are, you know, we're up and down every week. There are radio stations like Colorful FM who advertise in regard and also interview black businesses and business people per se. But it has to be something that we are now consciously, actively doing, and not just for one day and what have you. It's something that has to be an active part of our. It has to be a way of life, and because that's the reality. You know what I mean? We only spend, you know, 2% of our income in regards to black businesses, and that is not going to be sustainable for our community. So it has to be something that, as I said, something else has to go. And we have to inject that real feeling of supporting you know, our businesses locally, as well as you know, as everybody who will have to actually make it a parcel of our life. Just the way, just how you were able to locate a Tesco or locate another brand you know, on the high street. You know, we can find, this one is just open up here, just open it up. It just means for us to have to try a little bit more, but we have to you know, but it's something that you know, it has to be part and parcel of our way of life. That's the only way you know, it's going to work. And when we do find them, we have to then tell not one person, tell 10 people that, you know, I found this business, you know, it is, you know, it does this, it does that, it serves this, it serves that, and in that way we can you know, as well as, you know, those of us who are in the, you know, at the front line, you know, trying to make sure people are you know, and that, you know, that kind of situation. And people have to be honest in regards to engaging in this by black way of life, and it has to be a way of life.
Yeah. Can you you were talking about the sustainability. Can you elaborate a little bit about the importance for sustainability within, you know, the black group economics within the black community?
Okay. Well, I'm a person of figures. So I'm gonna give you facts. Right. Now in I think it's 2014, there was a report by the ONS, and it came out in The Voice saying that we as a community are worth 300 billion pounds to the UK economy. 300 billion. So if we were a country, that GDP would make us the 40th wealthiest country on earth. It would make us wealthier than, you know, places like Ireland, Pakistan, even the Emirates. It would, and I mean, it would make us a real power. So we now know that we have a wealth. We also have a a disposable income. Even though we're 3.5 million people in this country, we have a disposable income of 30 billion pounds. Now that is too much wealth to not have a situation that we don't have our own bank, we don't have our own chain of supermarkets per se. But again, let me give you a further, for instance. All right, I'm looking at I'll take one borough. This is a case study. The borough of Lewisham. Now, the borough of Lewisham has something in the region of, they have 303,000 people. This is when they did the last census, 2018. 40% are quote unquote black and ethnic minorities, of which 20% are African and African Caribbean. So that's roughly about 75,000 people in the borough of Lewisham. Now, let's say 40% of them are employed, and they earn a rough earning capacity of £1,000 a month. That is 40 million pounds that we have as a group that we can actually spend. But because we only spend only 2% of that, it means that we, as a community, we only spend £800,000 in that borough. That means that then and that's why we find ourselves at the bottom of every matrix. We find ourselves bottom in regards to employability, bottom in regards to life choices, and then the top of certain matrix in regards to crime, exclusion, and a sense of hopelessness, and now a growing suicide. So it is very, very, very important because because communities employ their own people, and that's what we have to understand. So when we're now spending with other communities, you have to remember that you're now helping the economy of that particular group, and that's why you find other people are growing, because they know that there's a rich seam of wealth in our community, because we're not supporting each other as we need to. But we have to understand that, as I said, when your friend who you're helping, or this chap who they are helping, when it's time for them to now go, and for you to now go and get a job from them, they're not going to employ you. They're going to employ someone within their own community, and that makes perfect sense. So we have to, if we are expected to be now sustainable, we have to now support ourselves. Now you imagine, right? We spend instead of spending 2%, imagine if we spent 10% in our community. Do you know that 10% spending in our own community will produce 50,000 jobs?
Gee.
That would now change the landscape in regards to certain things. So this is very, 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 very real, and it is within our hands to do that. And that's going to be really, really very, very much important. When we're getting to that stage more and more that we can't blame anyone else in regards to certain things. We're not going to be able to do that, and especially like now, we're now getting to the we're now in uncharted waters. We're now going through certain things that we can't even imagine. I mean, fiction is now more and more crazier. That fact is now more and more crazier than fiction, and we are going to have no choice in regards to doing for ourselves. There's nothing you can do politically, nothing you're going to be able to do unless you have the might to do it. And that's the reason why, just closing, why you have certain communities that you can't even talk their name. If you speak about these communities, you're finished. You're off the air. You lose your job. Why? Because these particular communities are so powerful economically that they can actually shut people's mouths right there and right now, and that is the realities, my sister. If we actually going to be able to do anything, especially if we're now talking about building doing this and building that at abroad, and what have you. We want to go to Africa, we want to go to that. We have to now now think strategic about, understand that business is war.
Do you know what? Yeah. Like, there's a lot of comments coming through via YouTube, and they're basically they're looking at the facts that you've dropped them with regards to Lewisham alone, and it's like we as people in this country, we often complain about why we're not in a better place, but we're not taking responsibility for how we can improve and better our situation, and improving our situation for ourselves. We're improving the situation for our children and our future generations.
Exactly.
So you really kind of shed some light and put things into perspective. Moise, I just wanted to ask you a question, because obviously Brother Paul has kind of dropped a few figures on how much of a disposable income we have. For those with that kind of disposable income, if they were able to kind of save money, and how could they go about investing that money to good use?
Yeah, good question. Just before I touch on that, I just want to touch on what Paul mentioned before as well. So I'm reading the comments as well, and I think it comes back to what I said before in terms of I think the main issue is trust, and I think that's it literally. And I feel like it's a thing where for some reason we trust to purchase from elsewhere instead of our own community for whatever reason. At the same time as well, our people who are doing certain businesses as well don't take it seriously as well. There's a flip side to it as well, if that makes any sense. So there's a thing where, like, if I was to go into a black-owned shop or whatever it may be, I'll get treated a certain way because you're black, I'm black. Does that make sense? But however, if somebody else was to go in there, it'd be a whole complete different way how you will address that person. So I feel like the professional aspect just goes out the window. Which for me personally, in certain places I don't mind. You understand? You talk a certain way. Hey, bro, you're right, bro. It's cool. I get it. But I feel like in order for that to change, the trust level needs to be there, and also the businesses need to treat everything on the same playing field. If that makes any sense. So I just wanted to touch on that because he mentioned that. So the question, what's the question again? Sorry, about if you have money where to invest or something.
Yeah, how? Because obviously we've heard a bit of money, a bit of figures on how much of a disposable income we have as a community.
Yes.
If for those that have managed to save some money aside, I know that at current the interest rates at banks are horrific. They're terrible. If you leave your money in a savings at the moment, you're pretty much going to be pedaling backwards, because in say 10 years time, that money isn't going to be worth. You're not going to be able to have the same buying power with that same money as you are in 10 years time. So how can people with a disposable income that have managed to save, or those that are saving, what kind of goals? How can they get onto investments? What's investing in property like? What's the steps?
Okay, so what I would say is that obviously right now, if you asked me this question before COVID, it would have been a completely different answer. But right now, in terms of how things are, I think COVID has taught you that you cannot survive on one source of income. You need a stream of incomes, because if anything happened and that source of income, for example, you got a barber shop, for example, and it has to close down, then that's it. you're not making no money for yourself and for your family. So what I would say is that if you got a little bit of money, I would say, use that time to maybe educate yourself, invest in your education and try to reach out to people who are good at their craft, have a sit down or have a meeting or do a course or something like that within an area where you feel that it might work, and try to invest in that, because there's no point trying to jump into something if you don't know anything about it. If you got quite a bit of money and you want to get into property right now, it's definitely a good time, because yes, the interest rate is low. Also, the stamp duty holiday ends in March next year. So for stamp duty holiday, it means that, so these are people, this is for anyone. Actually, if you're a first time buyer, you don't pay no stamp. I think it's 500k, I believe. I think it's 500k. You don't pay no stamp duty at all, where before it was like up to 150k. If you're a second time buyer, they've discounted the stamp duty rate, so it's a lot cheaper. So for example, there's a property which I'm purchasing right now. I'll be completing in the first week of Jan, and because of that new announcement, I've saved £15,000 on the stamp duty. So if you want to get into property right now, because of that stamp duty holiday, it's a very good time. They may extend it, we don't know, but it's a good, you can save yourself quite a lot of money. And yes, for example, there is great deals right now, but also there's going to be great deals later on as well, because once everything is sort of with what's happening, a lot of people are going to lose their jobs, because a lot of people are on furlough right now. A lot of businesses can't carry on as they were. So unfortunately, it's a lot of people are going to be dependent on the government, which means that some people are not going to be able to pay their mortgage. Some people have to start moving out from London to outside of London, where it's a lot cheaper. So there are going to be opportunities where people have to sell their properties a lot cheaper and stuff like that, which is not great, for the people in that situation. But unfortunately, that's how life is, isn't it? Do you understand? When these sort of things happen, there's opportunities to sort of get in there. And just to touch on, I think you mentioned something about your young ones, sort of bringing them up, and I think that's very important in generation wealth, and especially with property as well. You can start a business with property. The question is, how many properties do you need? It depends on the cash flow. You can have 3 properties that you own that are giving you a cash flow of £15,000, depending on how you are operating those properties, whether you're doing it as a HMO, supporting living, etc., etc. If you now own those properties, you can then pass that down, to your kids. Do you know what I'm saying? Bring them in, teach them exactly how to do it. They can then replicate that same thing, and you just keep on going again. So it's very important that you set up. It's very important that you educate yourself first, and you set yourself up first, so that you are able to then pass that generation wealth down. At the end of the day, we've got the time to how can I say this now? We've got time to do the right thing, basically, and I don't feel like there's any boundaries for anyone. Do you understand? Regardless if you have money, you don't have money, because I've always been taught, if you don't have money, find somebody that does have money. Okay, if you don't have the education, find someone that does have the education. If you don't have the time, then find someone that does have the time. So, and that goes back to the same thing, that just don't just do things by yourself. Link up with other people, and then go forward. Do you understand? Because you get it a lot quicker. And that's it basically.
Do you know what? Sorry.
No, go on.
Again, Well, every time I hear about generational wealth, my ears just prick up, because it's what are we providing for our children? This is more often than not, people kind of approach Debbie, and it's like, I'm trying to get the perfect child and what have you, and their focus is on the children. Our platform is here for us to focus on the adults and the parents, and what are we going to provide for our children? So how can we be better parents? And when we're in the discussion of education in terms of business, in terms of generational wealth, what you're going to be handing down to children, our next generation, this is what we actively have to do as parents to make to have better children, because they're then in a better position themselves to not have
100%.
to start from the beginning.
Can
And
I get in quickly?
you,
Sorry, mate. Yeah. So I was want to ask, someone asked the question there. What you mentioned there is correct, because you know, we have kids, and then we're very much, you know, I've got to make sure the kids are perfect and this and that, and then sometimes you forget about yourself, yeah, and you're just working so much just to make sure that they're good, but you need to be good as well, because if you're good, they're going to be good in the future as well. Do you understand? So sometimes you kind of have to sacrifice certain things in order to make the situation a lot better for the long run, because if you think about it, we're all older now. If I talk for myself actually. If my parents had the education and knew certain things, I reckon I'd be a lot further into. I feel like, it's down for us to sort of like set that pace, things in place. Do you understand? And it could be as small as investing in the stock markets and buying shares and holding it down. Do you understand? It could be basic as having life insurance. If anything was to happen to you, then at least something's going to go to your kids. There's a lot of black people that don't have life insurance. Do you understand? So a lot of our parents that have life insurance. These are the basic things that we don't want to talk about, because we don't want to talk about death. We don't want to talk about money. Do you understand? All these things are like taboo in our community, and we need to talk about it. Do you understand? Because it's facts, it's life. Someone asked the question about, to minimize entry level, is it a good time to join groups in property investments? I would say yes and no. Do your research first. Because there's a lot of like property gurus and stuff like that, and not all of them are there to support you. They're just there to take your money. So just make sure you do your research first in terms of who's a part of the group, get some feedback and stuff like that before you sort of throw your money away and just jump into something.
Direct question, Maurice. What does your business what services does your business provide?
So mainly what we do is we buy, we flip, we do HMO properties and stuff like that. However, I started sort of showcasing some of my stuff on social media in terms of what I'm doing day by day. I haven't been active lately, but I plan to be a bit more active in 2021. Reaching out to me, really show me a few things. Could you mentor me or like that? And I was doing some stuff ad hoc with certain people and supporting them, for a fee and stuff like that. So hopefully in 2021, I'm a plan to sort of put maybe like a Zoom sort of course together, like a one-to-one where I could educate people on anything that they might want to know. Do you understand, in property? So if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Moise London on Instagram. That's when I'm mainly active. So in 2021, I'll be a bit more active on the gram. And if you have any questions, just DM me and I'll get back to you.
I wanted to ask Marty. Sorry,
No, no.
I wanted to ask Marty about because now I don't know. I hope you'll be able to answer this question, Marcia. But we're moving into whether people are ready for it or not, and it's been happening before our eyes into what's considered a cashless society. We're using our cards and our phones to make payments, and for many of us who are used to having cash, it could be a difficult time for us in our minds to,
make that transition.
Yeah, and so obviously there's digital currencies such as crypto, and I don't know if you saw recently that the Lumis popped up as well, which is an African digital currency, I think, that's sort of connecting working through the Caribbean and Africa. What are your thoughts about digital currency? Perhaps maybe the Lumi, if you've heard about it, and how can people educate themselves and get more active within that kind of way of trading?
We might be having some connection.
It's delayed. So
Yes.
I don't know if she heard us. No, she didn't hear us. I thought she was listening when she had her hand up. Marcia, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Oh no, she's on mute. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Can you hear? Can you hear us?
You muted
I
me.
just asked you one long-winded question.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute.
Yeah, that's right. What I was asking is, hopefully you can hold on. What was that?
About the cryptocurrency. I could hear
Thank
you
you.
fine. In the regards to currency, it's a definite way forward. It's happening. I live in a cashless society, so all my transactions, all my kids' transactions are through our accounts. I use tap for payment most days, sometimes my card, but my father, for instance, uses cash, and it just looks strange to me. I do think it's an inevitability in regards to try it. It's still legal tender. There's still no way, because I have debated in a few shops that they have to take cash in regards to trying to transactions. But in regards to cryptocurrency, I think it's just best to do your research on the newer currencies and how it's backed and how stable it can be. Some of them are very unstable and can drop, but a lot of them grow. I think Bitcoin is at like 64%. It's grown in the last few. So other coins are always trying to that trajectory. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm into. As you talked about it, I account currency investments and see how they do it. They've had a little drop today, but yeah, 1.4% drop was good, so I withdrew some. But yeah, I think people understand it's here and know how to use better themselves. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. It's something that I'm trying to educate myself on at the moment, in terms of just investing in potentially crypto or the stock markets as general, as Louise kind of mentioned earlier. Another question I had for you as well, Marcia, is obviously you're kind of like a business consultant, and you kind of help businesses with their structures and what have you. What are the common faults that you see with the communities, the businesses in our communities? What things do we need to kind of work harder at? aside from just the general customer services, because I know a lot of people have, Amori's kind of touched on that earlier. But what other things should we be focusing on when we're setting up business, or if we're currently in business, to kind of improve the structure and the long-term profitability and sustainability of company?
Thank you. I was thinking about this question when the last two guests were speaking. We went off in we talked about employing our children. There's a gap missing where we should be our experts in our community. Was able to employ a person who's got years of experience. You'll find it may be difficult, or it makes it a very makes the process very long. When if you had an expert from our community in your business, it could grow and get that's something I think is the missing area in our businesses. I understand, because obviously if we're going to be employing our young, maybe they're certain IT and social media things, but it may be a case of them to do that, or sometimes it's a bit hard, family training and stuff like that. But bringing in is classed as an expert in their field. And I give an example. I work with, for instance, Serena. Serena's an expert in her field of project management, and I could have hired a young child, one of the family members, or wanted it to be done in an expert way. So I think a lot more of our businesses will probably, if we actually looked at not just hiring a cousin because they're a cousin, but actually in our community hiring someone who's expert in the field. I think I see that's what's needed a bit more. Like, we do need to access group, and I'm always trying to put these questions out and just see how much of us are hiring our own expert level, because we do have a number. I'm sure you know, or just actually have these conversations a bit more in our family circles and friend circles, because sometimes you actually don't know friend, and you may not have spoken about, or you don't know what John does. You have those conversations on social media, and they may post out certain things, but like I've got one I know for authors, 5 of her children and herself have books. When I want to talk about books, I'm going to go to the in my eyes in regards to books. So certain things like that are I think it will help to bring more companies coming together a bit more. So around what businesses need to do, and I've often said a lot of our directories that are in them cover, I think it's 16 different Black directories. I've always thought it would be more powerful if they all just come together. Kind of thing. In the UK, because not running so much in UK. So yeah, I think children we need to employ the experts in our community and grow them.
That's an amazing.
Thank you. I've seen in the comments.
That's an amazing point that you put up in terms of hiring our professionals within our community, because our community are not short of professional people providing like very skilled services. So being able to tap into that and save ourselves time and money potentially, because quite often everyone kind of says, "Oh, I can do it myself," and they go off and do it, and it doesn't necessarily get done right. So if you go to the professional at the first in the first instance, if you perhaps you can't afford it at that point, making sure that you're working towards whatever and budgeting for that cost into your business rather than trying to hustle or negotiate a lower price with the professional, then I think we as a community could definitely move forward a lot more quicker and a lot more in a stable way.
I must know. I know. I've seen some of the comments, and I do think it's. I think Muz brought it up in regards to professionality. We have to up our game. We're going to be us as experts or specialists in our field. We have to also deliver that expertise. Like, because we're the same shade doesn't mean that it should drop in any way. If we're going to say something, we deliver it and just do it. I've never understood the drop in professionalism.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, thank you so much, guys. We're coming up nearer to the ending of this episode, I guess. But thank you again so much for joining us. I wanted to ask individuals yourselves, do you have like a last few words or message for Black British Parent and our followers? Louise?
Invest. You know, either invest in yourself, get some medication, invest in other things, but just I would say just definitely invest. If you ain't done no investments in anything, then you need to be doing that right now. Like you mentioned about the crypto, that's something that I'm involved in as well. Stock market, property. So yeah, invest. That's what I would say.
And Marcia?
I strangely just put that comment in. Invest in us because it hurt me. I saw a lady on Twitter that out of the 10.6 billion that was given to Black Lives Matter this year, zero went to the Black community. And it's just like, how was that even possible? So, or Black businesses. I think there's a comment in each other. I think if maybe invest in each other a bit more. I'm hoping it's still coming. Been trying to do building that, but I think it is definitely an underlying issue. But that's what contracts are for. That's what written agreements are for. That's what those things are for. And knowing that it's not because we've said something should be written out. Emails are classed as contracts. So if there's a lack of trust, just expect with deadlines, with timelines, that way, because you would do that for every other company. Yeah.
Just to add to that. Just to add to that as well. About the contracts, I feel that it shouldn't be a thing about lack of trust. It should be standard. So any sort of business you do, have contracts in place, because it's that thing as well. It's like you do it family. Oh, why do we need contracts? We're family. It shouldn't be about trust. It's just, listen, if anything, we know where we stand. Do you understand? Throughout the whole process.
And yeah, again, just to kind of alliterate on the contract thing, it's a great opportunity to kind of list out what your roles and responsibilities are within the business, and whether you're meeting those criteria that have been pre-set out before it reaches a hostile situation. So having clarity, a contract enables you to do that. So yeah, totally agree with you both.
Thank you so much. And Paul, we can't see him. We can't get his last words in.
Paul, are you still with us? All right. While we try and get.
But I hope you can.
Yeah, we can. We can see you. Can hear you. Yeah, do you have any last words or a message for Black British parents and the people listening?
Yes. One. First things first is knowledge is very, very important, and love, and that will grow to love of self. Very important factor who you really, really as a people are, because once you know yourself and love self, the want to now treat self, but others better, because that's also, but not awake. So it's very important to have knowledge, but love, proper love and genuine love for self. Two, I think you also have plans, and that's the reason why for as opposed to plan for ourselves. And three, as you know, that we need to do. Can stop being that is.
Sorry, it's cutting out a little bit. Can you?
And the last thing is this. I don't know if you can see me, but look, when you open up this and you're not in and you're open a shop or a business and it's someone, think very, very this children see.
Sorry, the reception, the connection seems to be a bit choppy there, but we do understand exactly what you're trying to illustrate.
So we appreciate everyone having joined us this morning. I wanted to quickly, before we say goodbye, and again, thank you everyone for joining us, the listeners, and obviously our wonderful, amazing guests. But I quickly want, before we say a proper complete goodbye, is I keep forgetting to mention a giveaway at the beginning, but we have a giveaway at the moment. If you're following Black British Parent on Instagram, you'll be able to see one of our last few posts. There's a giveaway, and the prizes are, we have 3 prizes. 2 free online children's cooking lessons for 8+, and that's from Tasteful Munch. And we have a second prize, a beautiful black doll from Afro Toys. And third prize is also a book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. In order to be able to enter the competition, you have to be following our IG account. You also, and that's the Black British Parent. We have a backup account, but we want the main account to be followed, the Black British Parent account. You have to like the post for the giveaway, tag 3 friends under the post, as well as take a screenshot of you watching one of our 7-day series Kwanzaa principle discussions. So yeah, it's amazing to have you guys join us on this particular topic. We really respect and are inspired by the work that you guys are doing, and we appreciate you guys coming to spend the time with us and our community, our Black British Parent community. Thank you so much. Is that we need to say bye? Just bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys, and thanks again. I hope you have a beautiful day, guys.
Thank you.